Yeah.
3 days.
3
days. Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
Actually,
Anthony and I
on Facebook to know that. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Anthony and I were driving together to the conference on his wedding anniversary.
That's true.
Aww.
And it was number 12, he said, right?
13. 13. Lucky 13.
Lucky 13, baby.
The first one.
2012. All right. Yeah.
Yep. The first one that I missed was Lucky 13. That's got to be good.
You were there for 2 hours of it.
That's true.
Yep. Yeah.
And I'm sure you made it special, right? Right?
He called her many times while we were traveling.
I didn't make it special, I don't think.
No. Oh.
I didn't make it special? No. Thanks. We're live. Thanks so much.
I really appreciate it.
She could hear me through the door. That's why all of a sudden the door opened all aggressively. Yeah, she could hear me.
I'm surprised she didn't pop on to just say, no, he didn't, and then disappeared.
I'm surprised she didn't hit me, to be honest.
Something flies through the screen.
I heard the door open. I was like, well, I assumed that aggressive door opening, I assumed it was one of my daughters because they're just, they have no wherewithal at all. Uh-huh. But yeah, once I could tell it was her, then I was surprised I didn't get punched. So it's good. That's funny. It's all positive.
Bringing it back to your birthday, are you doing anything special for your birthday?
No, going places the next week, but nothing. I'm going. There's this place in Wethersfield, Connecticut, that has a chicken parmesan sandwich that's so large. If you finish it, they put your picture on the wall, and they give you like a T-shirt or a hoodie, whatever they have stock. And it's been eaten in the third. Well, actually, it's probably more 40 years now. History of this place. It's only been eaten 6 times.
Whoa!
I'm proud to say that I've eaten it 4 times of those 6. Yeah.
So that's what you're going to do for your birthday?
He's a legend.
Yeah. So anyway, for my birthday, my older daughter is starting to like chicken parmesan now, which is my favorite meal, of course. I'm a 400-pound Italian man. So anyway, we're going to go.
Come on, you're only 360. I saw you on that scale.
Thank you. That's very sweet. Thank you. Yeah. So that'll be my birthday. Anyway, I'm looking forward to it.
Okay.
What's brought you back that many times? Is it that you need another T-shirt, or?
Oh, that's a great question, Justin. Thank you so much. It's that I eat like I hate myself. So the sandwich, I don't think you understand. So it's like 18 inches long, which but it's 4 pieces of chicken thick, and then sauce and cheese, and it's like a Shaggy Scooby-Doo sandwich. Like, it doesn't even make sense. It's like when you see it eaten in a cartoon. Yeah.
I'm trying to picture that, and I'm picturing like an 8.5 by 11 piece of printer paper, and I'm like, it's even bigger than that. Okay.
Yeah, and they cut it into 4 pieces, and it's huge. Like, each piece is the size of like a huge burger that you would get, or something, like double burger, like massive. And normally I'd bring people and they'd get like a half, and then they'd eat like a half of the half. So they'd eat a quarter of what I have eaten on multiple occasions.
Right.
Yeah.
So you want to be on their wall of fame again?
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
well, no, I want the food. The food is really good. It's not just that it's big. It's really good.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah. Dan asked what food challenges have been accomplished. I don't know if he means all viewers, listeners, but I've accomplished others. There was a challenge I won a hot dog eating contest in college. That was easy though. That was just the fastest to eat 5. So that was easy. I eat 5.
5 is
easy peasy. I eat 5 hot dogs as a meal anyway. And then I won a T-shirt for my wife when we were dating by eating 10 burgers at a place called Snookers in Rhode Island. These are true stories.
So I've never done any of the food challenges, but I've been known to eat a lot. When I was a teenager, we were at I was at some kind of like youth group gathering or whatever. And apparently when my dad came later to pick us up, the family was hosting, came over and pulled at my dad's clothes. He's like, "How do you dress so well with how much your kids eat?"
It's true. It's not cheap. It's not cheap, but I can't eat like I used to. I mean, I'm still a very large man, and I still do eat a lot, but nothing like I did when I was was younger.
Exactly, and that's where I live now too. Is I can still eat a lot, but I don't eat near as much as I used to.
I did witness Anthony have a pre-dinner dinner.
Yes,
that's true. That did happen,
that's right.
and it was chicken.
Oh, I do that too.
The official term is pre-gaming. Come on.
Yep.
Ooh.
Yep. Yeah, I do that too.
It's not first dinner, second dinner. First dinner, second dinner.
I call it pre-gaming because if I'm going out to eat, I want to have leftovers for the next day. So if I eat dinner before I go to a restaurant, then I can enjoy that and then have it again the next day. Is that weird? That's what I do. It's strategic. Yeah. And I only did one food challenge that was not really a food challenge. Do you remember Friendly's used to have the crowd pleaser, which was this giant bowl of every flavor of ice cream?
No, but that sounds amazing.
Yeah, well, I did that once, and I don't think it was a challenge. I think you could just have it and then share with a family, but I just did it myself anyway. So that's my story.
I had the Vermonster from Ben & Jerry's, which was 20 scoops of ice cream with 10 cookies and 5 brownies.
And you did it?
Not all by myself, but it was similar to your story and delicious. So.
Yeah, and just as enjoyable.
And delicious. Is it enjoyable? It starts to hurt after a while.
You start to hate yourself, but you have to just push through that.
That's what it is. It's the self-hate.
You're like, I don't want to eat anymore, but I have to.
Guilt-powered eating.
Mark wants to say hello to Emily with a heart, but nobody else. Thanks,
Hi,
Mark. Good to see you, pal.
That sounds like a great note to...
Welcome to the Pondcast, the TurtleRoom show, where the hearts are cold and knowledge flows. Turtles, tortoises, and conservation too. Stories of the wild brought right to you. Research, rescue, education galore. Saving wildlife is what we're here for. With Aunt Fanny, Steve, and Emily. It's turtles, it's tortoises, and all things herpetology. Pondcast,
Man,
Hi, everyone.
Roll that. I see myself measuring that turtle in the absolute pouring rain.
I love that part.
Because you
It's
did.
my favorite part.
It makes me laugh. That new roll-in makes me laugh every time.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
It's the voices of the people singing. It's terrific.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I like it. It's good. I like it because I'm in it.
We did that months ago
Justin,
now.
I don't know
Come
if you
on.
know, but it took years, literal years, for me to get into the intro. I'm just saying.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. You were prominently
welcome.
in there.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank
It
you.
even says her name. The weird voice says her name.
I know. I like
heard
it,
that.
though. Yeah. So
Maybe
it's
in a few
episode
years-
124. Here
Sorry,
we
go ahead.
are. Welcome, everybody. We have a ton of people in chat already. Everyone, hello. Greetings. Today, our guest is Justin Berezin. Did I say that right? Yeah? Okay.
That's correct.
I referenced my notes. And Justin is the newest board member for the TurtleRoom. Yay!
Woo!
So before we got started, while everyone was in chat waiting for us to start, we were just talking about Anthony's birthday. He's going to be the big 4-0 in just a few days. So please wish him a very happy birthday, everyone.
Can you imagine? I've looked like I'm 40 for 12 years, but it's really happening now. It's official.
No, you don't.
No, you haven't looked like you were 40 for that long. Your daughter isn't that old yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
My wife just brought me milk and cookies in a pink mug with a bow on it.
Oh,
You
that's
just-
awesome.
I know, you just admitted you didn't do anything special for your 13th anniversary. That's probably poisoned, Anthony.
Nice knowing you.
Instead of that punch, it's just a quiet punch.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well,
No,
Justin, please. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Steve.
No. I was just going to make a joke. It doesn't need to happen. Go.
Oh, I want to hear the joke. If it's poking fun at Anthony, you might as well just go with it.
You can't do that. It's gonna
It's
fall
for your
so flat.
birthday.
Now
Birthday
you gotta say
poking
it,
fun.
We'll roast Anthony for his 50th.
If I'm here for it.
You will be.
We'll
We'll
make
make
sure.
sure of it.
We'll make
That's
sure.
the cutest mug, by the way.
We'll weekend at Bernie's it if we have to.
That's funny. Can you imagine doing the future podcast episodes with my rotting corpse on one of the screens?
Oh, God.
Like a weekend at Bernie's with Anthony and podcast.
No, I love it.
Sounds good.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Well, for those of you who don't know Justin, welcome again. Please, that was my dog. I'm so sorry. Please go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Justin Berezin. I live in Miami. I'm an attorney, and so I am not part of like the turtle tortoise world as part of my day job, but pretty much all of my other time is spent caring for my animals and researching and getting to know as much as I can about turtles and tortoises. So that's how I got here. I feel like I'm extremely lucky to have slipped by and made it into the group. So it's been a wonderful experience so far.
What made you decide to apply for the board member position?
So I have always kind of wanted to get involved on a bigger level. And so one night I came back from dinner with my fiance and I saw a post that the Turtle Room was looking for a new board member. And I basically just said, I'll see you later. And I went into my office and I spent a couple hours doing an application, and sorry to Steve and Anthony for the book that I wrote. But yeah, so, and then I followed up and Steve was very nice and was like, yep, we're still going through things. And I just kind of kept waiting and waiting. And luckily it was not too long before I heard back for an interview. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I just got right place, right time.
Also, right person too. Do you remember what I said during your interview? What my feedback was about you and my thoughts about you?
Yeah. First of all, you said you've got a lot of really cool animals, and I was like, I do? Are you serious? And then second of all, I think you just said, can we be best friends? But I now know that's your tagline. Like that's your go-to phrase. And so I thought that was really cool.
He gets you. Yep.
Right. So I thought that was cool until we went to the conference. And then I realized it didn't mean anything.
You heard me say that to other people? Did I do that?
Just once or twice.
Hold on. Let me just say something. I've got young girls at home here. My older daughter just turned 11. My younger daughter is 8. You can have more than one best friend. I don't know why we do this. Can't it be tied? Can't there be 17 people tied at the top?
Not from one conference.
All right.
But yes, you can have multiple best friends.
She just brought me more cookies. She's trying. So it's not poison. It's the slow death.
It's the slow burn.
She lives remember this. Mark this down. August 4th, 2025, the night that my wife started giving me diabetes slowly on purpose.
On air too, with all these
last
bonuses.
decade.
She's been doing it already, but this is when I realized. Anyway.
So, Steve or Anthony, what was the process like going through all of the applications?
So a couple years ago, the board created a kind of a process. So we made a posting. We got a handful of folks that were interested, and so we had developed a questionnaire. And so we send out I send out that questionnaire back to the interested applicants, and then they fill them out. They send them back. I send them out to the board along with some other resumes and some other stuff. And then the board talks over it. And more often than not, we invite almost everybody in for an interview when we have applicants. Unless something would stand out, like, I'm a real big fan of PETA. That would be a red flag for us, for instance. So typically we bring almost everybody in for the interview part so we can actually get some conversation going and figure out where they fit. As we do want to grow our board over time, there will be a point where the board's at a point where it'd be like, we'd be more picky about, maybe the specific things that somebody might bring to the board, which we were starting to do this time. And Justin's background on the legal side is something that we don't have on the board team and can be handy from time to time. So that was a big win in his case. In addition to his passion and excitement about turtles and tortoises, he basically filled a gap that we didn't have anybody who had those skills. essentially. And so as we grow, we need those people who can, bring in money or bring in legal expertise or finance or, all sorts of different, different skills that benefit a nonprofit board.
One of the things I have to give Steve props for, and also Justin in this case with his situation, is like we really take it seriously. It's not just like, hey, you're my buddy, I want you to come and be a part of this. Like, number one, we didn't know Justin ahead of this, which is cool. Now, you may have recognized him in some small roles that he's played on like Camp Kennan videos and stuff like that. Pretty cool little Easter egg there. But we, we really run this whole process like you would, for a legitimate nonprofit out there in the world, which I think is important and something that meant a lot to us. And it's also just kind of the way Steve does things. I'm way more willy-nilly and just like, there's this cool person over here. Let's invite him to the board. And like, Steve's like, okay, well, we've got the application and we'll be putting that out for, the specific role on the board that we need filled. And we'll see if they're interested in that. And it's a whole process. And I always joke too, that with the Turtle Room, like, sometimes it's like a hurry up and wait game, which I think can sometimes be a little off-putting for somebody who's joining us new, like from the outside, because they don't realize everyone is obviously an unpaid volunteer. Stuff doesn't happen overnight. So a lot of times, these things have to kind of happen over time, come together over time. So anyway, when Justin, that popped in my head when you were talking about how you kind of were excited and then we're waiting and followed up and then we're waiting a little bit, but here we are.
I mean, it wasn't too long, but
yeah, you're right. You got lucky. That was better than usual.
Oh, admit it. How long did they make you wait? How many months?
I don't think it was months.
Oh, okay. All right.
It might have been six weeks from the first book I submitted till the time I was asked to do a questionnaire, I think.
Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah, I don't know. It might have been around that. Yeah, so we have our board meetings quarterly. So we had our board meeting at the end of February, and so it would have been March that we made the posting about it. Got some, we were going to leave that out for a little bit, and then I replied to all the people individually. Hey, here's the, questionnaire kind of thing, and then because we were going to do the interviews, like instead of having to get the whole board together an extra time, we just kind of put them in front or in the middle of a board meeting essentially. And so that's one reason why we waited a little bit, is just because, scheduling wise, it was just pretty easy to drop those interviews in the middle of our next board meeting, which was in May. So.
Mm-hmm. Did we have other board members who we also accepted, or was it just Justin?
We have another one, Scott Teller. So we added 2, and that brings our count of board to 7 for now.
Okay. All right. That's a good sized board. I just want to answer Dirk's question really quickly. Yes, I do intend to go to TTBG. And no, Anthony did not put me off from going. So I'm excited about TTBG.
I try. You just got to be honest and just, did I make it a lot of old men? I think I said creepy. But I didn't say a lot.
That's so much better. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I said a lot, though. There's not a lot. There's a lot of men. Okay, some of which are older, some of which are creepier, but there are a lot of men.
Some of which are both.
Some of which could be both.
Statistically, that's going to happen if you have enough.
Exactly.
I'm not sure if that makes it
It's more about the amount of men.
better. Maybe we could just dial it back on that part. So go on.
It's a like-minded group.
To the next. I was going to throw Anthony a softball question and just say, what about Justin? Why did you want to be his best friend or something like that? Just because you were eating cookies, and I thought it would be cute for you to answer that while you were.
The cookies are gone now.
So, yeah, but all right, I'll go into a harder.
It's my birthday week, okay? Dessert every night. Okay, I don't want to answer to anybody. Thank you.
Well, obviously, you guys all get along really well because you just went on a super long trip together. How was your trip, you guys?
We shared a room.
That was a blast.
2 beds, 3 guys, 1 room.
Okay. All right. Yep. Well, we won't ask questions about that. So tell me about the trip itself. I know Anthony spoke. Justin, you did not speak, correct? But Steve did. Is that how it went?
Yes, I did. I did not speak. I was just a viewer this time.
Was
a fan
this your
in the
first
crowd.
Time?
Yep, this was my first time going to the TSA. and actually my first like large scale turtle tortoise event in general. So I didn't know what to expect at all. Plus I was rooming with two guys I'd never met in real life. So it was definitely, I was just along for the ride and I had a great time.
And you can say it, Anthony's a lot taller than you thought he was, right? In person.
He is, actually. It's true. I knew he was a big guy because he says it all the time, but like when you're standing next to him, you're like, wow, you're actually a big human. Yeah.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you had a good experience. Anthony, what did you talk about for your talk?
We had a blast. My talk. So I will just say, right. So this is the majority of the people that tune into the podcast are private keepers. So at risk of oversharing, I'll just give you kind of the thought, because I think we're going to go in this direction anyway at some point. But I'm just going to say, and I'd love to hear Steve and Justin thoughts as well. This was my first time at the symposium. It's actually not the TSA symposium. The TSA does the bulk of the work and you know, staffing and everything to put it on. But anyways, my first time. It was Justin's first time. I've been to TTPG and other things, IHS and other stuff many times. It was my first time at this one. And Steve is a mainstay at the TSA conference now. So we'll call it the TSA conference, but just know it's not really just.
That's its short name, because the symposium, the annual symposium on the conservation and biology of tortoises and freshwater turtles, is a little lengthy.
Correct. So when we say
TSA, everybody just calls it the TSA conference because TSA is the main sponsor.
Just know that we know that it's not the TSA conference when we call it the TSA conference. It's the symposium and all that other stuff. So anyway, I had heard from many people over the years, including people I care about a lot. Yeah, it's not really the same as TTPG. You know, TTPG is people who, you know, are real passionate, and it makes sense. There are a lot of people at TTPG where this is like turtles are their hobby, and they do it out of a sheer love. Not to say the TSA folks don't, but they're also, most of them, professionals. So a lot of them, like statistically, there's far more professionals who are looking for people to partner with and you know, publish research with and all that sort of stuff. So it's different. That also happens at TTPG, but on a smaller scale. So there's a different feel for that reason. Not saying one's better than the other. But from a private keeper perspective, it did feel different, and it wasn't something that I was necessarily used to. So and then there were also, I just have to call it out, there was at least one talk that was pretty anti-keeper as well. So just to throw that out there. So it's definitely different from that perspective. So I was doing a lot of reflecting, and I already had this talk planned for the ACTS program, which we've talked about in the podcast already now, which is basically, for lack of a more, making the story longer than it needs to be, it's assurance programs, stud book type collaborations among private keepers to try to take what we do to the next level, and also to identify meaningful propagation and scientific findings that are happening within the private keeper sector. Okay. So that's what my talk was about. And I was reflecting a lot on it. So I started off my talk with this, and I thought it ended up being a good segue into Steve's talk, the entire thing. There were three big things, I guess, from my talk. Number one, when I was a college kid and I was feeling bad about myself because I didn't major in biology or zoology, I used to read the TSA magazines, which weren't called Turtle Survival at that point. They just had the TSA logo on them. And in those, this was before the Turtle Survival Center, which came about around 2012, 2013 in South Carolina. And the TSA used to partner with private keepers a ton because they had to. They still do to this day, by the way. But I basically, what I said to start my talk is, I used to read that and think, you know what? This is how I'm going to make a difference in the world. When I grow up, that's what I want to be. I want to be that person. So I worked so hard and I became that person. And now I kind of feel like I don't know where I fit. Because there are a lot of people that think that, you know, private keepers and keeping turtles is all bad. So segue that into a case study on the Egyptian tortoise, where, you know, in the 3 years prior to its ESA listing, when it was open for public comment, there were, you know, 3 produced by the AZA and over 500 produced by private keepers in the same span. That really shows what private keepers can do. But when you do it reactively rather than proactively, it's seen as being hyperbolic, as being hearsay. Oh yeah, you say that you had 500, but isn't that convenient for you to say after the fact? Those were probably poached animals. And you can roll your eyes all you want because you know that they were captive bred. But unless we actually get ahead of this, it is all seen as hearsay. So that was basically the main function of the talk. And the last point, those are the 2 points. And then the third one would be, we need to be better. The cream needs to rise to the top is the phrase that I used. And we need to continue to identify and collaborate with the people that aren't breeding animals just for money, that are interested in conservation, that wouldn't, knowingly purchase animals that were just smuggled into the country and sold illegally and all that sort of stuff. So like, if you've done that, it doesn't make you a bad person. It just means you made a choice, but understand that you are supporting the poachers. You're making us all look bad. Like those sorts of things we need to really be mindful of in the future, I think. And that was the main point of my talk is don't give up on us. And we're not all the same. The person who is, trying to make shiesty deals and do whatever they can to make a buck, that's not the same as other people who would even give up their own animals to know that said species could survive in the wild. So I'm going to stop right there because I'm talking too much.
You're never talking too much.
I'm always talking too much. I love you though.
For anyone who did not know about the ACT program that the Turtle Room started, we did do an episode on it. It was just like 2 episodes.
It was June.
Yeah.
Episode 122.
Yeah.
2 episodes ago.
Yeah, June 2nd is the date. So you can go back and learn a little bit more about the ACT program that he referenced. But that was good. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I know that for zoos, we sometimes get something really similar where people think that zoos are, the opposite of conservation. We're just keeping animals captive is what people think. But then we have our accreditation program to try and hold ourselves accountable and hold us to a standard so we can separate ourselves from the roadside zoos that people, they have. Basically what I'm getting at is the same thing is happening with the zoo field, where people think that we're not contributing to conservation the same way that hobbyists are. But yes, actually, we're all in it together. This is a partnership, and we're all working towards the same goals. So I wish I had seen your talk. I know I would have really liked it.
It became like a little bit like electric in the room, but like going from my talk into Steve's talk and what he went, and like, there were huge people in the room, like, that we're like, because you spend the whole week and there's kind of this emotional roller coaster. Like, do I fit in? Should I? Like, nobody's really buying my book at the book signing. Like, I'm not really sure how this is going to go and all that sort of thing. And then Whit Gibbons comes up and like asks me to sign one of my books for him and asked me to pose for a picture with him and his wife. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And then we're doing our talks and like. Gerald Kukling and Anders Rodin and Arthur Georges and Brad Schaefer and Peter Paul Van Dyke and Rick Hudson. And they're all right there watching and interested, and they're nodding while we're speaking. And like, they came up to us after the talk because they wanted to talk to us about what we were presenting. Like, pinch me, this can't be happening. So I called Russ Gurley afterwards and I said, Russ, like the TTPG is my favorite thing in the world, right? It's like Christmas for me, being able to go there and be with all these people, like-minded people who I love and adore and respect and look up to and so much, right? But what I told him, Steve and I were driving and we were talking to Russ, is that I felt like I need to be at TSA more than I need to be at TTPG. Because at TTPG, I'm preaching to the choir. And at TSA, I feel like there needs to be a better keeper contingent that is representing the best of who we are. And I do feel like, you can sit there and say that they left us behind, but I also think that to some degree we have left them behind. And
in a way, you're kind of there fighting for all of us.
It's politics, right? It's uncomfortable, so you don't want to lean into it, and then eventually. Next thing you know, we're way out on opposite ends I might be making it sound more egregious than it is, but I've heard people say it though, And then I kind of felt it myself, but at the same time, like when you push a little bit, like they're totally interested in listening to what we have to say. And they are totally interested in partnering with the right people. It's just that people from our community have burned bridges a lot. And believe me, I know it goes both ways. But you know, if we really want to be taken seriously, we need to do everything we can to keep our spot at the table.
And if there's no one there like you out there speaking up for all of us, then the other side is just going to make up their own opinions about us. So it's better that we're there and we're speaking for ourselves rather than letting just them come up with their own ideas.
That's a perfect segue into Steve's talk. And then we're keeping Justin, we're keeping Justin in the dark right now. Justin, you know I love you. We're going to hear his thoughts after Steve says what he talked about, because that's a perfect segue.
Yeah, Steve, go ahead.
So I actually talked twice that afternoon. I started the captive session right after lunch talking about observations of my map turtles, but that's not the one that Anthony's talking about. So I ended up with the last talk of the conference, and normally at this conference, there's 2 talks going on at the same time. There's 2 rooms, you pick one, you go in. But at this point, after the afternoon break, there was only 1 room going on. So the last 3 talks, a gentleman was speaking about one of the dwarf tortoises, then it was Anthony, and then it was me. And so I had the last talk at the conference. This is something I've been working on for about a year, and I ended up calling it Taxonomy of Turtle Lovers. It was an idea I got a year ago. Listening to a couple talks last year at the conference, it just caught me how a lot of times people call, the pet trade, and they lump all of these private keepers into this one term, the pet trade. And so my idea was I need to break these apart. There are unique differences to these people, just like we do when we name turtle species, right? And there's a balance between the lumpers and the splitters and everything else, but we want to have a structure that has definition. And so, and I think, when we see something that's different than another one, we want to write how, talk about how they are different and give them their own unique definition, right? That's why a slider is different from a cooter at this point in time, even though they used to be the same thing, right? They were all sliders at one point. So anyway, taxonomy of turtle lovers. I basically started with, my introduction was basically the concept that all of these private folks have been lumped together. And over the last decade, 15 years, it's kind of even gotten derogatory, the pet trade, right? And so I kind of introed how this isn't necessarily a beneficial thing. And then the bulk of my thing then, a friend of mine, Scott Tregesser, and one of his colleagues, they wrote an article that got published in a scientific journal earlier this year. It was basically redefining biodiversity conservation with with a degree of separation framework, I think was the title of their article. And so basically they defined 3 tiers of conservation: primary, secondary, tertiary. And then they also talked about different examples from each category. And so as I was reading through their article, there were a couple of these that caught my attention, both for things that I've been arguing that are conservation for some time, even though other people have disagreed, as well as ones where I've argued they aren't conservation and this article said they were. And so I was also had my mind changed on at least one item, specifically myself as well. And so I structured my taxonomy of turtle lovers around these ideas of what conservation are. And so ultimately, I even went into I made a phylogenetic, phylogenetic tree diagram, like the genetics folks do when they make, when they're doing genetics work for different species, et cetera. And so, this could probably be an entire episode to talk through all of this.
Maybe it should be in the future.
That'd be a good one.
But anyway, so this is And one of the things that I was able to do with this is I was actually able to connect to 5, 6 other talks from throughout the conference and kind of bring a lot of ideas full circle. I was able to talk about one of our private keeper friends, Dave Drajewski. He does great work with one single species of turtle, basically. And like he's working on trying to figure out where they're TSD while also having natural declines in temperature overnight. And it's all this complicated, very scientific method stuff, even though he hasn't, gotten like full science with statistics and all that other stuff. But it's stuff that sometimes like goes over the head of a bunch of keepers because it gets really deep. But this audience, like they like that depth and that detail, right? And so, like in some ways, he's a very good example of like a private keeper who's at the top of data keeping and the top of talking about what he's doing and trying to like make an effort to learn something about turtles through what he's doing and present it to the world. And then, I was able to connect back to the original keynote and several other talks along the way. So it ended up being I was amped up as it ended, adrenaline running because it went really well. And there was even a good discussion afterwards as well. There were some great questions from like some big named folks actually asked some questions. There were some folks that were like, well, you could break this out a little bit more, kind of like you did the private keepers. And so we had some other interesting conversations about that. And it got people really thinking about like the different types of turtle lovers that are out there, how they impact conservation, how they don't. I even had an individual suggest, you could probably make the argument that not all researchers are really in it for the conservation either. Some of them, like, they're just, let me figure out how big this population is. They don't really care about the end result, whether it grows or declines. They're just like, they're just population number crunchers. That's all they really like. That was an example he gave. Another person, was like, well, you could break down this category into a couple different things. And maybe there's one in conservation and there's a separate one in non-conservation. And so, one of the top turtle geneticists was like, there might be some of these almost want to come back together. Maybe there's a different way we break it up earlier. And so it was kind of fun to have some of those conversations. Like it definitely got people thinking about that idea, but it also continued along this thread of finding value in some of the private keeper stuff, which, a bunch of the zookeepers also appreciated because many of them keep turtles on their own as well. They're not just doing it at work, I don't know if there's anything Justin or Anthony want to add, but like I could go into more detail about what I talked about, but I think the vibe in the room was as important as anything from the talk. But
I think that the talk was a great way to end it, but I think it would have been good for me to even see your slide ahead of time because like I walked in and I wasn't sure what I was going to get there. I come from like the keeping side of things. And obviously I started the same way so many people do. Like they see things on social media, they see YouTube videos. And so I didn't think that would be looked down upon or have any sort of different. I didn't know that people would be viewed differently for keeping versus doing research. And so I think it would have been helpful for me to actually see his slides first because I was kind of taken aback by just the breadth of different folks there and sort of how segmented it was. Yeah.
I just want to do a quick side note because Anthony said it and then Steve said it too. You both referenced big name folks, but you are both big name folks. So you're also, yeah.
I also want to say that like Anthony is probably, I think Anthony has his big name folks. And so I've known who Anthony was for a long time, right? Like he's somebody who's taught me things as a new keeper. So there were a bunch of people going up to Anthony throughout the entire conference. And so I think that maybe the same people who are going up to Anthony aren't the people that he was considering when he's saying that he felt like he was in a room full of people who were like way better than him, or you know what I'm saying? So having been able to watch it, people went up to Anthony and he was definitely well received there. I think that you might have been a little nervous to be there for the first time, but correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're totally right, and I think I owned it at one point too. That like I'm being a head case right now, but it was a few different things. I'm always weird before I talk. I get anxious as part of my process, even though I do it professionally for work, for TTPG. I've done so many. I still get it's weird. It's kind of how I prepare and get myself prepared. If I didn't care, I would just be even worse than I sometimes am. I also had the book signing and had to do stuff for that. And then there's another project that we had to talk to a whole bunch of people when we were there, and it was kind of hectic with that. So all of that together, I was a little bit of a head case. So I think when I described the emotional roller coaster, and Justin saw it because we were like hanging out a lot, and I was confiding in you a lot about how I was feeling. I seemed like such a weirdo about. I'm like, oh, it's so weird. It's like, it's not what I'm used to, and I'm not sure what people are thinking and all that sort of stuff. And I was definitely out of my comfort zone, and you were seeing that because I was certainly making it known,
Yeah, I think we're neurotic in sort of the same ways, but then also Steve was walking around to me. I was like, oh, look, it's the mayor. He knows everybody.
Exactly.
He did. He was
it's a superpower.
chatting it up with everybody. So it was a great, being with them was a great way to kind of have my first conference and to get to know people.
Yeah. And Sam had a good comment, good comment in the chat there. He said the vibe was definitely different, but I think it's still important that U.S. private keepers support and show face at these types of events. And exactly, I think that it's really great that we have people like Steve and Anthony, and now you, Justin, especially going to these conferences and speaking up for us, and people like Sam too, and everyone who did go, keep speaking up for us and advocating for all of the good keepers that are out there that are different than the rest. And we fall on a different part of the phylogenetic tree, like Steve pointed out.
Yeah. So one of the things that I was highlighting as well, I should mention, was like, there is also the existence of what we call net neutral outcomes, right? And like, there's nothing wrong with some people having net neutral outcomes, like as part of just, they're not really working towards conservation, but they're not hurting turtles either, right? Like the person who researches their pet and they buy a captive born animal and they raise it, right? That's not hurting turtles at all, right? They're not the poachers, the smugglers, the whatever, right? And so it's also important to recognize that just because somebody's not involved with conservation doesn't also mean they're hindering, right? There's a net neutral space, and we sometimes forget about that gray area, right? And so I think it's important that conservationists and researchers and even private keepers recognize that there's that gray area where you've got the people working to benefit turtles, you've got the people who are actively trying to hurt turtles, and then you've got the people in the middle who are appreciating turtles and they're enjoying their pet or their few pets. And that's okay too. And but there is space, and I think you can see that when private keepers show up and willingly engage with these other folks, they're more than willing to listen to you, to converse with you, and to learn from you. And because most of these people they're curious by nature. It's one of the reasons they go into science, right? That's why a lot of people go into science. They have a curious nature to begin with. Now, you do have a small, loud segment who is a bit anti any kind of captive keeping. They believe that any of it helps reinforce the illegal pet trade, etc. And that's understandable in some ways. In some ways, they're idealists, right? But
right, there's truth to them believing that. Like right. It's based in truth. Like if I use the example all the time, you have to forgive me, but the Vietnamese black-breasted leaf turtles, the Spangler, I talk about them all the time. They're smuggled illegally more now than they were 15 years ago when they were just shut down for importation, because they're captive bred now. And it's really easy for somebody to say, hey, this animal I have for sale is captive bred. And then because they're captive bred a lot, which is great, but it actually makes it easier to do that now. And that's where that gives these folks ammunition to say no captive breeding. But we know that's not true. But I think you have to understand the big picture and be real about it if you're actually going to be part of the solution. It can't just be, oh, that's hogwash and you're wrong, because folks on that end of the aisle aren't going to stop with that thought process, and potentially even at times they're going to be sharing that thought. And if we're not there to share our side and the good things that we're doing, then we're doing ourselves a disservice.
And let's be honest, when you're really passionate about these animals, especially their existence in the wild, and you see where certain private folks have collected 100,000 mud turtles in Florida, or musk turtles, or whichever it was, over a time to smuggle them out, right? Like, that's scary.
It is.
If you care about turtles, especially if you care about the existence of turtles in the wild, which is the bulk of these people at this conference, right? They're there because, even the privates who are there because they care about the existence of turtles in the wild.
Right.
And so, like, stuff like that scares them. Like that. Now, I had this line possibly prepared, but it didn't feel like it was right to use it. But I had it in it was something that I had prepared as a possibility. Is like, there are people who've been trained as field folks that have turned into those folks as well. That just doesn't come out of the private side, but there are probably more of them that come out of the private side.
100% agree with both those statements, both parts of that statement. 100%.
But there are people who come from the field side and are trained in well-respected field programs who have become the people poaching and hurting turtles in the wild the most. I can name a couple of them off the, without thinking hard. And Anthony probably knows who they are.
Yep.
But yeah, so anyway, really great vibe to end with. So I actually moderated that last session as well. So I was moderating this entire captive session. That was the last afternoon in one of the rooms. I spoke at the beginning of it, spoke at the end of it. Jordan Gray, who helps run the conference, most of you know him on social media and stuff as well, because he's pretty active and he loves turtles. He ended up moderating while I was speaking then. And so, he helped take us into a little bit of like a kind of impromptu, almost like discussion for a little bit afterwards, which was really great as well. And that was even just after the questions on my thing. We talked about, private keepers and zookeepers and some other, just kind of aspects of where conservation intersects the private keeping stuff. And I thought that was a really, really great moment as well. And, Arthur Georges won the Baylor Award, which is, kind of the biggest award in turtle conservation. And like I went to congratulate him at the end of the banquet, and he's like, I really liked your talk. Right. And stuff like that. That's exciting. Right. This was my first time meeting Arthur because he's from Australia. He doesn't get in for the conference every year. Bunch of the other bigger names I've gotten to meet over the last decade, but he was one I hadn't met before. So that was kind of cool too. So
it was really cool. One other thing I just wanted to add. So you referenced that scientific paper that was published this year on the primary, secondary, and tertiary conservation. And just so everyone out there knows, because I do think that this show has had a lot to do. I'm not going to take credit for the word preservation. I'm not. Preservation is the word in the TTPG, right? I personally have been using the word preservation to talk about captive conservation for years and years and years and years and years. And part of that was an ode to the TTPG and the work that they do. There's been a lot of heated discussions, though, over the years, too, about that word. Basically, what this now, here's a scientific paper that came out that says, guess what? Captive breeding is conservation, but it's going to fall somewhere in secondary or tertiary range.
Mostly.
Depending on if those animals are going back, depending on if you're utilizing the data that comes from your breedings to help the species. And that's a big thing, right? So I think a lot of people say, if I hatch more, I'm doing more, I'm having more success. But I think we really have to reframe our mindset and think about sharing the data more, maybe keep a few less species. I know I'm saying that as somebody who keeps a lot of turtles, but this is something I'm considering myself as well, is keeping less and taking better data, sharing it, because that makes a bigger impact than the hatchlings would for curbing poaching in a lot of cases. And going back to the wild is obviously the pie in the sky dream. but it would fall under tertiary or even secondary, potentially conservation. So I want you to know here officially that I'm going to stop using the word preservation, which is crazy because it's the title of the book that we had come out. But it's, look, science, that's how science works. So this paper came out and they did a really good job of framing what we do and really showed, this is somebody who is not a keeper, but they're really giving a lot of credit to what captive keeping and breeding can do. So I think it's best for us to jump on that, and I'll be referring to it as conservation, and I'll be talking about secondary and tertiary conservation. Not saying you need to join me, but I recommend looking up that paper by Scott Trageser from earlier this year.
Where can you find that article?
No idea.
Hold on.
Somewhere online.
Oh wait, aren't we supposed to have Scott on the Pondcast, or am I crazy?
No, we have not scheduled to. He might be on the list of future names to invite, though.
He is actually at the top of the list for possibilities. I kind of just looked through it. Yeah.
Possibility. Well, that'd be a good one to just talk about that, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things Scott's involved with, so. Here, I will put a link in the chat.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask Justin a question.
Oh, yeah.
So we talked about how this was like emotional roller coaster for the very emotional member of the team. We didn't scare you away with 3 guys sharing a room and all that sort of stuff, but I think there's a progression throughout the week. It's a long conference, really, and there's a progression throughout the week, and to end it on our talks. How did you feel about that going into it, knowing kind of how we were feeling and the conversations we were having and all that sort of stuff?
Well, I was definitely proud to be part of this group. I was the whole time, but by the end of the conference, it was very cool to see you guys all kind of close it out with the talk about how basically private keepers do good, and it's not all a negative. I also think that I think the vast majority of people are going to get into conservation or tortoise keeping in general because they see a private keeper or interact with an animal in a private setting, right? Like, if you don't have influencers, if you don't have people that you can point at and look at and say, like, that's really cool, I want to do that, I don't think people are really going to get into it as much. And from a field research standpoint, that's really great, but I don't know how I would have stumbled across that if it weren't for in an academic setting. So I think that there's a lot of value to the private keeping, and there's a wide variety of private keepers. And as Anthony said, we have to do better. And even just being in group chats with Steve, I've learned the way he just measures every egg, just how meticulous he is. I said to my fiance, I start seeing his texts come in about the weight and size and circumference of eggs, and I'm like, wow, these guys are crazy good. But wow, I'm not doing enough. And so you have to be in the room with people who are doing that to know what you should be doing. And so I'm going to take a lot of the things that I've learned even in the last 3 months to next season, and just keep getting better, because I don't think anybody's keeping these animals and learning about them because they want to be worse. So I think everyone there needs to kind of be welcomed to keep things going forward.
That's really well said.
Yeah.
And so you guys ending it that way was a perfect end to the conference, I thought. And it opened up a dialogue for sure. You saw people, I was sitting next to a gentleman, I don't remember his name, but he's the one who suggested breaking out.
Brad Schaefer. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was a cool dialogue that started from those discussions.
Did you have any other notes about the conference that you wanted to bring up, Justin? Anything that was really memorable, stood out to you, or any really good speakers?
There were a lot of really good speakers. There were some controversial speakers. There were some very just scientifically based speakers. I enjoyed the things that dealt with private keeping, obviously, as a private keeper. But the researchers and the academics definitely taught me of like where this can go, and I like the thought of like how private keepers can partner with different, you know, societies. I mean, with anybody, because that's something I think a lot of us are open to doing if we're just given the opportunity and can prove that not all keepers are built the same, because they're not. You know, I didn't get into having the animals I do just to have them. It's like an endless amount of work, money, just time, effort, energy. And I don't think that you do it, or I don't do it for the money. If I said that when I started breeding, like I would never do it in a way that like my life depended on a sale. And that's one of the things that like a hill I'll die on. Like I definitely turn people away all the time from buying my animals. And it's because I want them to go to the best homes possible with the people who have similar outlooks to me. Like it's important to me that private keepers do better. And yeah, sorry, that's rambling, but that was definitely kind of like what I took away from it, that I need to be kind of like a voice for the private keepers and urge people to do better. That's just a huge mission of mine for sure. And I think it's important to have a presence at the conference of private keepers and to show that's really what we want to do.
Can I interject here? Steve, can you roll that clip that I shared with you beforehand?
Oh,
I think
that's great.
One moment.
Justin was just talking about it. Yeah, so I'm going to cue it up there while you're pulling it up. So hold on. Let me just real quick. I want to just give a little bit of info before. So that's Dave Lee. Dave Lee's my literary hero. He wrote a book called Gulfstream Chronicles, and he wrote countless, and it's mostly about seabirds, but he wrote countless articles about turtles, and he was a turtle conservationist in addition to being a naturalist from the southeastern United States, and he honestly, everything that he wrote was just incredible. And my favorite thing about him, you probably heard me talk about it before because I've talked about him many times, is how he challenged keepers to be better and would challenge the BS. You know, my favorite article by him is keeping endangered species under the guise of conservation. Like, if it's not real conservation, stop calling it conservation. And that's where the word preservation kind of really stuck in my mind personally. Back once upon a time. But this week is my 40th birthday. I turned 40 in 3 days, which is crazy because I joke all the time. Thank you, Emily. I joke all the time that I've looked 40 since I was like 18. But when you watch this clip, two things to take away. Number one, well, maybe three things. Number one, I like to think I got better at this whole podcasting thing. Number two, I actually have aged quite a bit. Yes, I've always looked older than I am, but boy, do I look older now than I did then. And then also, number three, and most importantly, we've been beating this horse for a really long time. Excuse me, animal lovers out there for the phrase, but we've been talking about this same stuff since the very beginning. And this is actually the first video podcast that we ever did. So we're going back 11 years to 2014. And just so you know, I've never dyed my beard. Go ahead, Steve. I'm ready.
We need our captive breeding and conservation activities to be positive, above board, and legal examples. We, as well as our government, need to respect, enforce, help support, and expand laws of other countries that were enacted to protect turtles. Foremost, this is what we should be about. The captive breeding aspect should remain a secondary consideration as far as overall conservation is concerned. Is this frustrating stuff? You bet. But no one ever said this would be easy or straightforward. We will learn to evaluate as we go. If private keepers are to gain respect in the conservation community, we need to know as much about a turtle's legal status as we do about its husbandry needs. And importantly, we need to all know this prior to acquisition of those animals. So I think that really sums up what I thought was so important about what he did. We need our captive breeding and and
now it just loops. So that's the first time that we did this. This is the longest running turtle show ever. The second longest running reptile podcast in existence that we're on right now, and that's our first video show 11 years ago. And we're
That was
talking
like episode 8 or something like that.
Yeah, and it's the same thing we're talking about here tonight, that we need to level up and do what we can. And honestly, that means you guys need to, that was good, right? You guys need to, everyone on this call needs to try to help the next generation, the people that are just coming in and figuring it all out, because it's complicated. It's always complicated. So anyway, I'm proud to be here and to be sharing this message again. And I hope that all the keepers know we're with you 100%. I want the same thing you do. But I think it's really important that we come together and try to be better. And that's one of the things I love about the Turtle Room. I'm really proud of, is like, we're just here to try to bridge the gap, and we're going to have missteps. It's not always going to be perfect. It's not always going to be pretty, but we're trying to bring the different sides together. And I hope that when anyone sees us coming, they know, oh, that's our partner. That's our friend. That's our colleague. That's a person who wants the same thing that we do. Because that's the main thing, the common ground that we have to stand on, even if that means that certain people on opposite sides of the aisle see it a little bit differently. And if you watch this show a lot and you've been watching it for a long time, you know that that's a message that we are always bringing through our show. But I just thought that it was crazy I was literally on that last day when we gave our talks thinking about Dave Lee, thinking about that article. And actually the reason why we brought that up there in that 2014 show is because that's right when Dave Lee passed away. So here we are 11 years later, still talking about the stuff that he was writing about. So I'll be quiet.
We all saw the Guy Fieri comment.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yes, and it was great.
I looked like Guy Fieri?
Thank you, Sam.
The old me looked like Guy Fieri? Or me now?
No, the old you looks like you now. The old, like the prior you look like Guy Fieri from 11 years ago.
I meant the previous. When I said old, I meant like old.
I know.
That looked like Guy. Hey, what ifs? You're not gonna hurt my feelings. I've been married a long time. I'm basically dead. In terms of trying to be an attractive person.
You know, I love going to the conference. As Justin said, I'm always around chatting with somebody, right? Anthony and I had the conversation on the way down. You know, sometimes some private keepers don't necessarily feel super welcome when they show up. And so we got to talking about that, I think, during our drive down. And so one of the things that I was like, well, let's think about who turtle people are, right? A bunch of them they're not necessarily the most outgoing. Right. Whether they're private keepers or conservation people, not all of them are super very social. Right. 100%. And so you're not bringing a bunch of extroverts together who are just so excited to meet this new person who really doesn't like connect with their circle in any way. So if you show up and you want to kind of feel that connection, you have to make the effort, because also, as Anthony mentioned, it's kind of a professional type conference. A lot of the people here are there because it's part of what they do for their job. And so they kind of come with a little to-do list sometimes. Like, I need to connect with this person and this person and this person because of these 3 things I want to try to get to happen, or something like that. And so sometimes that's where their focus is. But there's space. Like, I showed up there 10 years. It was technically, this is, if it weren't for COVID, this would probably been my 11th conference or whatever. But so my first one was in 2015. I showed up there, and now I am more extroverted, right? So, but I started making connections, and I went out of my way to do it. And that's how the Turtle Room got into field work a bit too. And like, I was invited specifically to do captive stuff there at the conference. So it's not that we're not wanted. I can promise you that. All right. Of all the individual sessions at the conference, the captive one had the most total talks in it. Yep. And there was at least 2 other talks about captive programs that involve captive stuff in other sessions because they fit in with them. Like Denise Thompson's focused on, their research with alligator snappers that's done in captivity, right? And they do tons of in fact, alligator snappers might be the most studied species in captivity. because there are scientists doing work with them in captivity to learn about them, right?
And we all, the captive talks also ended the I know you mentioned that already, but that's a big thing. And it was the only time that one of these sessions was up against nothing else, because
other than the opening day.
Split. Yeah. Oh, right. The first day they have on the main stage, but that was a big thing too. And I just thought that was amazing. And Jordan, who now has joined the chat, was just incredible. Steve mentioned how he there was like this impromptu kind of question and answer session that he kind of orchestrated, and was like his support and the way that he spoke about what we were talking about. It just felt so supported and appreciated in that moment, which I just thought was incredible and not necessary. So Jordan, if you're still on, thank you. I love you.
He just mentioned alligator snapping turtles. Anthony, I have a turtle for you.
Yeah, yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you called me about that while I was at this symposium.
Oh, I didn't know that was you who was giving him the.
Got it.
A couple different people reached out to me though and said, like,
Yeah.
One person asked me what it was. Alligator snapper, right? Like, yep, sure is.
Just so I have a really brief story for
Please.
chat. So I don't know, it was sometime during the middle of the conference. We got a call at the center, and usually admissions knows if they have someone call the center and they want to surrender a pet, they automatically say no. I have a list of things that we say no to. It's ball pythons, no more leopard geckos, no more crested geckos, no more, the usual list. No green iguanas, sulcatas. So I got a call on the radio, and she was just like, Emily, can you come up to the front, please? There's a phone call for you. And there was a gentleman who called, and he said he had an alligator snapping turtle in his backyard of Connecticut. And I was just like, have him send me a picture. It's probably a common snapping turtle. And then I started getting text messages, and my boss texted me, and suddenly a wildlife rehabber that Anthony and I are both friends with, she texted me. And I was like, maybe this is actually an alligator snapping turtle. So I talked to him, and I was just like, you just need to send me a picture. I have to confirm what species this is. And he was like, it's definitely an alligator snapping turtle. Come to find out it was. He had posted pictures on Facebook, and someone was just like, that's not a common snapping turtle. You need to find this turtle some help. And I called him back, and I was just like, is there any way you can bring this to me? Because you're correct. This is not native, and we can take it. And he was just like, he was clearly a little scared about handling this turtle. I think he said something like, yeah, I could try to corral it into something. I don't know if I have anything big enough. And I was just like, ooh. So I was like, send me your address. I will come and get this turtle for you. And I called Anthony, and he was just like, I want to go and get this turtle so bad. I want to dive in the water and grab it. Right?
There's nothing I've wanted to do more than go and cannonball on top of where that turtle was and grab it, like Turtle Man from Animal Planet.
Mm-hmm. And there's nothing I wanted less than to have my face on camera as I was doing this. So naturally what happened, Brian came along and he recorded the whole thing with his camera in my face. I was packing stuff for the turtle, and he was packing his GoPro. And I was just like, no, put that back. No, we're not doing this. And then Anthony is like, yes, record it. Record everything. So needless to say, it was a pretty big alligator snapping turtle. I think she's probably like 35 pounds, so not the biggest, right? But not the smallest either.
It's good size.
A very big female, and she had a ton of leeches on her. So she is in quarantine right now at the center waiting for Anthony.
I will pick her up. Did you end up getting video clips?
Yeah. I was going to say Anthony. Brian took a lot of video, and just so you know, the news was calling the center and harassing Brian because they wanted this video clip. So
I believe it. Yeah. So if he'll share video clips, then you guys will be able to see it on Just Turtles, because I'm going to go and pick that up and do a snapping turtle episode. We'll have our own
Just Turtles
snapper. Yeah, it's Google. It's Google. I don't want to take Turtle Room time up with Just Turtles too much, but watch it.
Well, so steering on to one of the last few topics, I guess this question was for Justin. So what's the next big turtle scene that you're going to be involved in? We mentioned Daytona before. Are you going to TTPG? What's next for you?
That's a good question.
Yeah, so this year I'm definitely going to try and make it to TTPG. Arizona, right, Anthony? Yep.
You making fun
Arizona.
of me? I said it so many times.
No. I'm genuinely being serious. Yep. So
Mesa, Arizona. Oh yeah.
That's my next big thing. I want to do Daytona. Anthony invited me to go on kind of a turtle tour a little bit beforehand. I'm not going to be able to make it on the turtle tour or whatever this might be, a mini one. There's like a very small chance that I'm going to like wake up on Saturday morning of Daytona and just like cruise up there. Probably not, but Justin with no self-control would be there for sure. So we'll see how that goes.
It's a long cruise too, from Miami to Daytona.
We Googled it. It's like my drive to your place.
Yeah, that's a pretty long cruise.
Yeah.
See, I'm not going to be able to take off Friday or Monday for that though. So it would be like Saturday morning to Sunday midday, and we'll see. And there's a lot of people I want to meet there and do. So I don't know if like a 24-hour trip is really the best use of time. But we'll see. Next year, I'm going to make like a long weekend out of it for sure.
This is not a test question, but if you go to Daytona, is it for the turtles or for the people? Like, are you going to buy a turtle there, or you just want to see people?
People
Okay.
For sure.
If you bought a turtle, what turtle would it be? People need to get to know you, you know? Where do you fall on the turtle?
Yeah, what are they trying to sell you?
Yeah.
I don't know if you could sell me anything new right this moment. I do, there are a couple. McCordai is like something that Anthony really like. I love animals too that are like very interactive, and so Anthony really sold me on those. Not that I needed to be sold on them, but that's probably the next thing I will keep. Candidly, I only keep Spengleri right now. Everything else are tortoises. So I'm pretty new to the actual like turtle world, and I'm definitely just now getting the confidence to kind of go deeper into it. So yeah, I tend to not be a big person who acquires animals at expos though.
Speaking of which, I totally stalked you on social media before you came on our show because I needed to know what kind of turtles you had. And I saw a post where you said that Egyptians have some of the most personality out of all of the tortoises that you have. And that Anthony did the same thing for me. And I bought a hook, line, and sinker. I am completely an Egyptian person. And they have so much personality. I opened their Exoterra the other day, and one walked out into the bag of lettuce because I was taking too long. God forbid I spray everything before I put the salad down. So, yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm very proud to be a bad influence or a good influence for both of you. That means a lot.
Yeah.
Egyptians are just absolutely incredible. So.
And you also keep, what else did I say on there? Radiated too, right?
Yeah, I have radiata, Burmese stars. That's like the species that got me into tortoises, and maybe want to work on them with them on a larger scale. I also have westerns and pancakes. So yeah, candidly, like I used to keep my reptiles in my actual office until about a month ago. So I had so many great interactions with them, and I still do, but like nonstop. That's how I just grew to love the Egyptians and the Spengleri like so much because the small animals I keep inside and just super fun.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, so where can people find you? We're closing in on an hour 15 here. I want to make sure you get a plug. So if people want to learn more about you, what's your social media handle?
Yeah, it's Miami Tortoise Garden. Maybe one day Anthony will follow me as well.
Underscores on that, right?
Yeah. Yep. Miami Tortoise Garden. Oh, wow. And yeah, that's where you can find me. I'm on there pretty frequently. I'm not as I'm not on Facebook quite as much, but I lurk there as well. And I'm always available for anything. If you guys want to DM me, that's what I love to do.
Yeah, and for anyone who wants to meet Justin and welcome him into the Turtle Room family, maybe not Daytona this year, but definitely next year, and then he will definitely be at TTPG. Awesome.
You got a lot of followers, man.
Few. Nothing crazy.
Famous.
Man. I'm embarrassed. I didn't realize that I didn't follow you. I don't do Instagram well. I don't Instagram very well. I just post and I shut Instagram down until I post again. I don't.
I'm quietly following you now too. Just quietly.
You just got a lot of followers, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at least two, because I just
at least 2 whole followers to go with your 29.
Most important too.
That's very kind.
Yeah. All right. Steve and Anthony, do you guys have anything else you would like to add?
Justin mentioned Burmese star tortoises. I just think that that's a species that falls right in line with what we're talking about. Like captive keeping happening around the world probably helped save that turtle in situ, because the captive breed, now the animals produced here, for instance, didn't go back to Myanmar, but the boots on the ground in situ breeding success was helped by people who had knowledge of breeding the species outside of the range country, is my understanding. So that's a great illustration of how this secondary, tertiary, that would become more secondary, but it's great stuff. And for that reason, remember, it's not as much about the hatchings as it is
the collaboration,
the sharing and the collaboration. Exactly. And that's got to be the next thing, because I think historically there's been a lot of keepers that really want to stay quiet because they don't want their rights taken away.
And they don't want somebody to come in and take their crap if they figure out where they are. Like there's legitimate fears, right?
Yeah. There's also the
breaking past that.
Even for me, like I spent years working on my stuff because I didn't think I had anything to add to the conversation. So I think being more welcoming is definitely just going to help everything moving forward.
That's a great point too.
I spent 6 years not wanting to put my stuff out there because there were people who were just do it so well that I was like, why even bother? So yeah, I think just being welcoming is important too.
You're so right. 100%. That's great. I love you guys. I just love you guys, and I appreciate you all. I cherish these moments. And gosh, we've been doing this now for how long, Steve?
12 and a half years. 12 and a half years.
Yeah, 12 and a half years. And I'm still enjoying it. And I hope you guys are too, who are tuning in. And it's all about community, reaching out and supporting others, meeting other people. Like, to be this far into it and to be able to meet someone like Justin and just really enjoy your time together, I mean, that's what it's all about. And Justin wasn't the only person who we connected with, and new person who we connected with there. Even Steve, who's been there many times. So it's what it's all about. And again, my plea to you: just understand, if you are a private keeper, understand how important your voice is at a place like the TSA Symposium, which we know is not actually officially called the TSA Symposium. And I'll just leave you with that. That's my closing thought. Anyone else, please feel free to chime in.
I think, that's a beautiful area to stop. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Glad to have you tonight. We're actually on early. So instead of first weekend in September, or first Monday in September, which we normally move in one way or another because it's Labor Day, we're going to be a week early, which means in only 3 weeks, we've got our next episode. We're going to have our dear friends Matt Patterson and Cy Montgomery back with us, talking about their newest book. And if you're all good, they might read you an excerpt. Just saying. So join us again in 3 weeks for our dear friends Matt and Cy. Yeah.
I'm going to have milk and cookies for that, for story time.
And everyone give Justin a follow and welcome him into the Turtle Room family, please.
That's right.
Indeed.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Love you, Justin.
Loved my time with you guys a couple weeks ago. It was the longest road trip I've ever taken. Well, it's the only road trip I've ever taken with Anthony. It's the most amount of time I've gotten to spend with him. It was an absolute blast.
We didn't get sick of
so
each
yeah.
other. I thought there was no way I wasn't going to want to kill you, and I didn't at all. It was lovely. And that, but it's not saying anything, you know. I mean, Steve is a very unique guy, you know?
That's a lot of time.
I was nervous about how it might go, and it was amazing. It was amazing.
Justin, were you nervous too?
Yeah, I was super nervous.
You have to be.
I don't go out of my comfort zone that often, and so I didn't know these guys at all. So yeah, it was a great leap of faith for sure.
Oh, sometimes you put yourself out there and good things happen. You know?
It was a blast. I absolutely loved my time at the conference with Justin and Anthony. And I wanted to say that. I don't think I got to say that. So that's kind of my final thought. It's just I really appreciated that, and I think it was good all around. So I always enjoy the conference. I invite you all to come out, and if you need somebody to talk to, I'm always willing. So
yeah,
come
get
out
in
to
line
conference,
trying to talk to those
Steve.
two. Apparently. Okay. Thanks, guys. That was beautiful.
Thank
Thanks,
you all.
everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.